There's a reason why you've always been the one who holds it all together. But no one ever told you that the day would come when you wouldn't have to anymore. Capricorn, I want you to listen closely. Not just with your ears, but with your memory. Because deep inside, there's a moment you've buried. A moment when you swallowed your dreams to keep the peace. When you stayed sacrificed, held the weight of a family, a company, or a crumbling world. While others ran, you told yourself it's okay. I'll handle it. And you always did. But something inside you has started to whisper louder lately, this isn't sustainable. And now, something ancient is waking up. On January 8th, 2026, a cosmic door will quietly open. No headlines, no breaking news. But for you, if you are awake, it could be the day you're finally released from a 30-year spiritual contract. No, this isn't a metaphor. This is written in the stars. Because Saturn, your ruler, the keeper of cosmic ledgers, is returning to balance the scales. And everything you've carried, everything you've lost, everything they took without thanks, is being recalculated. But here's what they never told you. You must know how to claim what's rightfully yours. If you miss this moment, you may carry the burden for another lifetime. But if you remember who you are, the builder, the master, the architect of destiny, you will rise not in noise, but in silence. And you will reclaim what the world owes you. So don't look away. What you're about to hear is not just a video. It's an invitation to freedom. Part 1. The unpaid debts of Saturn. They always said Saturn was your ruler, Capricorn, but no one told you what that actually meant. They said it made you disciplined, responsible, mature beyond your years. But they didn't explain the price of carrying that crown. Because Saturn doesn't just give structure. Saturn keeps score. And for 30 years, it's been keeping score of everything you gave that no one saw. Every night, you stayed late so someone else could go home early. Every time you were the strong one because someone had to be. Every opportunity you passed up because your family needed you more. Every boundary you swallowed so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. They took, you endured, and Saturn recorded it all. Not with emotion, not with sympathy, but with cosmic precision. Capricorn. This is not a punishment. It never was. It's a tally. An invisible balance sheet that belongs to you and you alone. And on January 8, 2026, that ledger reaches the bottom of the page. The final line is drawn, and what was taken must now be returned. But only if you're ready to stop being the one who always gives. Only if you realize you were never here to be used. You were here to build something lasting. And that mission begins the moment you understand that sacrifice is not your identity. It was your training. Because Saturn didn't forget. And it's coming to settle your account. Life lesson from this part. If you've been giving without return, it doesn't mean you were foolish. It means you were investing in a future only you could see. But now it's time to receive. Not out of entitlement, but out of spiritual balance. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever felt like the universe was keeping score for you even when no one else noticed? Transition to part 2. You see, Capricorn, your debt isn't just emotional or financial. It's embedded in your nervous system. In part 2, we'll explore the hidden cost of being strong for too long, and what that strength has secretly taken from you. Part 2. The hidden cost of being strong. Being the strong one sounds noble until you realize what it's actually cost you. Capricorn. When did it start for you? When did people stop asking if you were okay and start assuming you could handle anything? Perhaps it began in childhood when you were praised more for how well you behaved than for how you felt. Or maybe it was the moment someone you loved fell apart, and you picked up the pieces without hesitation. Since then, you've worn strength like armor. But armor is heavy, and the longer you wear it, the more it crushes what's underneath. You've been the one who holds the family together, the one who keeps calm while others panic, the one who never complains because complaining feels like weakness. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Being strong for everyone else often means abandoning yourself, and the world won't stop you. In fact, it rewards you for it. You get labeled reliable, tough, unbreakable, but what they're really saying is, you're convenient. You won't make us uncomfortable. That's not strength, that's silence, and silence has a price. Capricorn. It shows up in your body, in the tightness in your chest, the fatigue that sleep doesn't heal. It shows up in your relationships where you give and give, hoping someone might finally give back. It shows up in your soul whispering, I can't do this much longer. But the beautiful part is this, you're not broken. You're just overdue for rest, for recognition, and for return. Saturn didn't give you strength to suffer forever. It gave you strength so you could survive until the shift came. That shift is near. Life lesson from this part. Real strength isn't silent endurance. It's knowing when to stop carrying what was never yours to begin with. Share your truth in the comments. Have you ever been called strong while feeling completely alone? Transition to part 3. But where did this pattern begin? Who taught you that being useful was the only way to be loved? In part 3, we'll dive into why this specific window, January 8, 2026, has been hidden for centuries, and what the system never wanted you to know. Keep watching, Capricorn, because what's coming next may change the way you see your past forever. Part 3. Why January 8th was hidden. Capricorn, you might wonder, if this moment, January 8th, 2026, is so important, why has no one told you about it? Why wasn't it in the news? Why wasn't it in school? Why didn't anyone, astrologer or otherwise, prepare you? The answer isn't random. It's not about oversight. It's about control. You see, if Capricorns knew when their spiritual account would be balanced, they might start refusing to carry what isn't theirs. They might stop working themselves to the edge. They might stop proving love through suffering. They might become free. And the truth is, the system needs your self-sacrifice to function. Think about it. Every structure around you, from corporate offices to family units, is built on your reliability. You're the one who shows up when others collapse. You're the one who fixes what others break. You're the one who pushes through when others retreat. So what happens if you stop? What happens if Saturn, your ruler, decides it's time for you to receive? The system knows. That's why this window, this astrological alignment that only comes every 864 years, was buried in obscure manuscripts, hidden in esoteric texts like the Picatrix erased from mainstream knowledge. Because if Capricorns awaken during this opening, everything changes. You stop being convenient, you stop being silent, you stop being indebted, and the world, it would have to finally reckon with how much it owes you. Life lesson from this part. Not all silence is absence. Some truths are hidden because your power scares those who depend on your obedience. Let us know below. Have you ever felt like the world was afraid of your full potential? Transition to part 4. Now let's go deeper. If this cosmic moment was hidden from you, who or what has been keeping track of everything you endured? In part 4, we uncover Saturn's true role in your life. Not just as your ruler, but as the universal ledger keeper who never forgot your sacrifices. What you're about to discover may completely redefine how you understand justice. Stay with me. The shift is getting closer. Part 4. The Cosmic Ledger, Capricorn. We've talked about sacrifice. We've talked about silence. But what if I told you none of it went unnoticed. Because in the language of the universe, nothing is lost. There is a record, a system older than any religion, older than money, older than time as we know it. And that system is overseen by Saturn. You've heard it called a planet. But in ancient astrology, Saturn was never just a celestial body. It was a cosmic judge, a divine accountant, the one who watches not with emotion, but with exactitude. Every act of patience, every delay of gratification, every boundary you maintained while others pushed past theirs, every yes you gave when you wanted to say no, all of it recorded, not to punish, to balance. Capricorn. This is where your journey becomes different from any other sign. While others act and move and break things in chaos, you were built for long-term structure. And Saturn is your mirror. It's the part of the cosmos that understands how long you've waited, how long you've endured, how deeply you've obeyed the rules even when the rules hurt you. And now, as Saturn prepares to align in a way not seen for 864 years, the ledger comes due. The world may forget what you gave, but Saturn remembers. Not just what you did, but how quietly you did it. This isn't karma. It's not revenge. It's cosmic accounting. And your balance is tipping, finally, in your favor. Life lesson from this part. You don't need to scream to be heard by the universe. Your silence has already spoken. Your sacrifice has already been counted. Share below. Do you ever feel like life has been silently keeping track of all you've given? Transition to part 5. But here's the thing. Capricorn, this cosmic system didn't just track your effort. It also tracked what broke you. In part 5, we'll enter the shadow years, the 16-year cycle, where Pluto moved through your sign and dismantled your world piece by piece. What if everything that fell apart was never meant to stay? Let's go there. The truth might just free you. Part 5, the Pluto years, 2008-2024. Capricorn, if Saturn is the one who keeps score, then Pluto is the one who tears down everything that's false. And from 2008 to 2024, Pluto moved through your sign. 16 years. Not of random struggle, but of deliberate cosmic excavation. Do you remember who you were in 2008? You had a plan, a structure, maybe even a belief that if you worked hard, played by the rules, gave more than you took, you'd be protected. And then the ground beneath you cracked. Some of you lost jobs, some savings, some your health. Others lost people you thought would never leave. But all of you lost illusions. Because Pluto doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't knock gently. It comes to destroy everything that doesn't serve your soul's true architecture. Maybe it showed up as betrayal, or a divorce, or a deep silent depression that no one noticed because you never said a word, because you kept functioning. But Pluto was never punishing you. It was breaking the old version of you, the one who carried too much, stayed too quiet, obeyed too often. Pluto burned away the scaffolding so you could rebuild from truth, not from survival. And now that Pluto has exited your sign, what's left? Silence, emptiness, but also space. The space to receive what was never possible in the old system. Life lesson from this part. Not all losses are meant to be mourned. Some are sacred demolitions, removing what stood between you and who you were always meant to be. Let us hear from you. What did Pluto take from you between 2008 and 2024? And what did it leave behind? Transition to part 6. And now comes the most powerful question of all. If Pluto has cleared the path, what exactly did it make room for? In part 6, we explore the silence left behind and why it may be the most fertile ground you've ever stood on. Part 6. A shift in 2024. You didn't notice. Capricorn 2024 came and went. No thunder, no celebration. Just a quiet ending to one of the most brutal spiritual assignments of your life. Pluto left your sign, and it felt like nothing happened, but something did. You see, the absence of pain can be just as startling as the pain itself. And when you've lived through 16 years of emotional storms, sudden stillness doesn't feel peaceful. It feels strange. You look around and wonder, where did everyone go? Why do I feel hollow even though the chaos is gone? Capricorn, you're not empty. You're cleared. The noise is gone. The scaffolding gone. The toxic patterns disassembled. And what's left is the space that power grows in. But this is the part no one talks about. The loneliness of healing. The strange quiet after the work is done, but before the blessings arrive. The in-between state where you've released everything that wasn't truly yours, but haven't yet received what is. This is the space between endings and arrivals. And it is sacred. Don't rush to fill it. Don't panic and rebuild the very walls Pluto broke for you. Wait, because the shift of 2024 was not meant to excite you. It was meant to prepare you for something Saturn is now ready to deliver. Life lesson from this part. Silence after struggle isn't a sign of nothing happening. It's a sacred pause so your soul can catch up to your destiny. Reflect with us. Have you been feeling strangely empty since 2024 began? What if that space is the proof that change already happened? Transition to part 7. So now the ground is clear. You've endured. You've let go. You've waited. But what exactly is this vault that people keep whispering about? What is Saturn ready to give you if you know how to receive it? In part 7, we uncover the truth behind the Black Vault and why this isn't a myth, but a coded spiritual truth meant only for those who've paid their price in silence. Let's open the door. Part 7. The vault isn't a myth. There's a story whispered in the shadows of ancient astrology of a vault, a black vault, locked by Saturn, opened only once every 864 years. To some, it sounds like myth, like fantasy. But Capricorn, what if it's not a vault of gold or power? What if it's a vault of energy? You see, the universe doesn't operate on the same economy as the world. It doesn't pay in dollars or titles. It pays in equivalents. You gave time energy. You gave silence resistance. You gave loyalty resilience. And while the world took and forgot, Saturn recorded. But it didn't forget. It stored every tear, every hour you gave while others slept, every moment you swallowed your own needs so someone else could stand. The vault is real not because it's physical, but because it's spiritually encoded. Imagine this. For every act of unpaid effort, Saturn logged a credit. Not in punishment, but in balance. And now that balance is being returned, but not as suffering, as opportunity. Not as retribution, but as release. January 8th, 2026 is not about magic. It's about alignment. It's about cosmic fairness if you're ready to receive. But most people won't, because they've been taught to keep giving, to not ask, to not expect. But you, Capricorn, you're not most people. You are the one the system was most afraid of awakening, because once you know the vault exists, you stop being quiet. You stop settling. You start remembering who you are. Life lesson from this part. You're not waiting on miracles. You're waiting on the return of energy you've already earned. What do you feel the world owes you? Not in money, but in energy. Tell us below. You may be surprised by how many feel the same. Transition to part 8. But now comes the harder truth. If the vault is real, why were you programmed to forget it existed? In part 8, we'll expose the silent programming behind your usefulness and how your deepest wounds were not personal, but designed. What you learn next may explain your entire childhood. Let's continue. Part 8, how you've been programmed to give. Capricorn. Let's be honest. You weren't born believing believing you had to earn love. You were taught that. Somewhere along the line, someone looked at you and said, "You're the strong one. You're the oldest. You're the responsible one." And slowly, love became conditional. Love. Maybe it started with your family. Praise came only when you achieved. Affection was given when you were useful. Your dreams were called whims while other people's needs were real. Then came the partners. They expected you to be the rock. They disappeared when you needed support, but reappeared when they needed solutions. Then came the employers. They said, "Your family here." But when it was time for a raise, they chose someone newer, louder, or easier to control. And society, it laughs at memes about how Capricorns never rest, how Capricorns are machines. But you know what they really mean? You don't complain. You don't resist. You don't cost us anything. Capricorn, that isn't praise. It's programming. You were taught to believe that your worth is measured by your usefulness. That if you stop giving, you'll lose your place in people's lives. That if you rest, you'll fall behind. That asking is weakness. That receiving is selfish. But here's the truth. This wasn't your karma. It was a system error. And now the system is glitching. Because when a Capricorn wakes up to how deeply they've been used, everything starts to break. And in that breaking, you finally begin to breathe. Life lesson from this part. You were never born to be convenient. You were born to be complete. And completion requires balance, not endless giving. Have you ever felt guilty for resting or saying no, even when you were exhausted? Share your truth below. You're not alone in this awakening. Transition to part 9. But if this programming has ruled your life for decades, what does it truly mean to be Capricorn without it? In part 9, we reveal the real nature of Capricorn, not as the workhorse, but as the master builder of worlds. And when you remember that version of yourself, you'll never settle for sacrifice again. Let's keep going. Part 9. The true nature of Capricorn. Capricorn. We've spent so much time talking about what broke you. Now it's time to talk about who you truly are when nothing is holding you back. You were never meant to be a beast of burden. You were meant to be a builder of worlds. While others chased fame, you chased foundation. While others wanted comfort, you wanted legacy. You were never in it for the applause. You were in it for what lasts. This is the real Capricorn energy. The quiet force that outlives storms. The strategist who doesn't shout, but restructures empires from behind the curtain. The mountain goat who doesn't need to rush because they know the summit isn't for everyone. You are not cold. You are precise. You are not detached. You are disciplined. You are not emotionless. You feel everything you've just learned to carry emotion like steel. And Saturn. It didn't give you hardship to punish you. It gave you responsibility because it saw in you the rare soul that could hold power without abusing it. You weren't meant to be useful. You were meant to be wise. And the moment you reclaim that truth, the world around you begins to rearrange itself to reflect it. Because when a Capricorn stops living in survival mode, they don't just succeed, they redefine success itself. Life lesson from this part. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to remember it and build something eternal from it. What part of your power have you been hiding just to make others feel comfortable? We'd love to hear it. This is your space to reclaim it. Transition to part 10. But here's the thing, Capricorn. The world doesn't benefit from your awakening. In fact, they fear it. Because once you rise, they can no longer control you through guilt. In part 10, we'll explore exactly what the system is afraid of, and why your quiet revolution is the most dangerous force they'll ever face. Part 10. What the system fears most. Capricorn, you've been applauded for being dependable. But what the world never says out loud is this. They depend on you staying asleep. Think about it. What happens to a system built on your silence when you finally speak? What happens to a world that thrives on your labor when you stop giving it away? They've built entire structures, companies, families, relationships, on the assumption that you'll always say, "I'll handle it," always stay late, always hold it together. But when a Capricorn wakes up, they stop proving themselves. They start choosing themselves. And that right there is what scares the system most. Because you weren't just useful, you were essential to their comfort. The moment you remember your own value, you become unpredictable. You stop explaining. You stop apologizing. You stop bending. You start building something that doesn't serve them but serves you. And suddenly the ones who used to benefit from your guilt start calling you cold. Start calling you selfish. Start calling you different, because you are, Capricorn. Your awakening is a quiet rebellion, but it dismantles centuries of control. And that's why no one ever told you about January 8th, 2026. Because that's the day you stop asking for permission and start taking back what's always been yours. Life lesson from this part. The world isn't afraid of your weakness. It's afraid of your clarity, because once you see the game, you stop playing it. Have you ever felt resistance from others? The moment you started choosing yourself, let us know. Your story matters more than you think. Transition to part 11. So now the question becomes, if you're done giving away your power, how do you receive what's been waiting for you? In part 11, we'll enter the most practical part of this journey, how to recognize the moment the vault opens, and what to do to claim what's yours. The window is small, but the shift is massive. Let's continue. Part 11. Claiming what's yours, Capricorn. By now, you understand. The Black Vault isn't fiction. It's energy you've deposited over decades. Now the question is, how do you access it? Here's the truth. The universe doesn't work like a vending machine. It doesn't respond to begging. It responds to alignment. And alignment begins with acknowledgement. You don't need to chant ancient words. You don't need to burn candles under a full moon. You need to stand quietly, firmly, and say, "I see what I gave. I see what was taken. And I now accept what is mine." Because receiving isn't passive. It's an act of courage. It's the moment you stop justifying your exhaustion. Stop apologizing for your needs. Stop playing small to keep others comfortable. January 8th, 2026 is not a ritual. It's a turning point, a spiritual account reset. And to activate it, you don't need external tools. You only need one thing: presence. At the moment the vault opens, be still. Feel the ledger settle. Let your body remember what you've carried. And then choose differently. Say no to what drains you. Say yes to what nourishes you. Make one decision from that day forward that proves to Saturn, I'm no longer operating from debt. I'm operating from worth. And that choice alone will unlock more than any spell ever could. Life lesson from this part. You don't receive when you're ready. You receive when you decide you're worthy. What would it look like for you to stop proving and start receiving? Visualize it. Then share with us if you feel called. Transition to part 12. But here's the thing, Capricorn. Most people won't do this. They'll sleep through the window. And if they miss it, what happens next? In part 12, we explore the cost of not claiming what's owed and why the universe doesn't wait forever. Let's take a hard but necessary look. Part 12. What if you miss the window, Capricorn? Let's ask the harder question now. What happens if you don't show up for this shift? What if January 8th, 2026 comes and goes, and you're too busy, too doubtful, too tired to notice? The answer is simple. Nothing changes. Not because the universe wants to punish you, but because you didn't opt in. Saturn doesn't force repayment. It offers it. And if you decline consciously or unconsciously, it simply records that too. And life goes on. You continue carrying more than your share. You keep being the reliable one. You keep proving your love through effort. You keep earning approval through exhaustion. And maybe you survive, but you don't rise. You don't thrive. You don't receive the things that were meant to arrive the moment you stood still and said, "I've done enough." Capricorn. This is not a warning. It's a reminder. Energy that's not claimed doesn't disappear. It recycles into more tests, more people who take more lessons wrapped in pain. And years from now, you may look back and realize, that day in 2026, that was the day the lock clicked. But you didn't open the door. And the world went on calling you strong, and you went on pretending that was enough. Life lesson from this part. Some doors don't slam shut. They simply stop opening and wait 864 years to try again. Have you ever looked back and realized you missed a turning point because you didn't believe it was real? We invite you to reflect and share. Transition to part 13. But here's the beautiful truth. Not everyone misses the window. Some Capricorns are already beginning to feel the shift. In part 13, we'll explore the early signs that your vault is already activating and how to recognize the subtle gifts that begin to arrive before January 8th. Let's tune in to what's already unfolding beneath the surface. Part 13, signs that it's already beginning. Capricorn. You may think the shift will come like thunder, but that's not how Saturn works. Its magic is subtle, measured, not loud. So, if you've been waiting for fireworks, you may miss the signs that it's already begun. Have you noticed? You're no longer available for certain conversations. You're more exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually. When you're around people who drain you, have old memories resurfaced lately, asking to be acknowledged? Have you been craving more solitude, more silence? Not because you're sad, but because you're listening for something deeper. These aren't coincidences, these are precursors. The universe is already shifting things beneath your feet. It's closing doors without your permission, because you would have kept them open out of loyalty. It's dissolving friendships that were built on obligation, not truth. It's creating space you didn't ask for, so the vault can deliver what you never thought you'd receive. And yes, it can feel lonely, unstable, even scary. But that's only because you're standing between two lives, the one that drained you, and the one that's waiting for your permission to begin. Capricorn, the vault doesn't open to you, it opens through you. When your vibration changes, when you begin saying no, resting without guilt, remembering your value, the flow begins. You don't chase it, you become it. Life lesson from this part. Before the blessing arrives in form, it always arrives as emptiness. Because abundance can only enter what has first been cleared. Have you been feeling more distant from the old and unsure why share your experience? You might already be standing in the shift. Transition to part 14. And now Capricorn, you've come this far. You've looked back, seen the patterns, felt the pain, and reclaimed the truth. But there's one more choice left. In part 14, we return to the question that started it all. Will you take back what's already yours? This is where it all converges. Let's finish strong. Part 14. The final choice is yours. Capricorn, after everything you've survived, there's only one question left. Will you take it back? Will you take back the time that was used up, the love that was taken for granted, the energy spent proving your worth to those who never saw your soul? Because Saturn is not just giving you permission, it's giving you the right. You earned this, not because you were perfect, but because you never stopped showing up. And now it's time to stop proving and start receiving. You can't rewrite the past, but you can stop repeating it. You can choose not to carry what isn't yours. You can say, that part of me served its purpose. Now I'm building something else. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to make a scene. You don't even have to explain yourself. All you have to do is stand quietly, clearly, and say, "My debt is paid. I'm ready." And that moment right there becomes the shift. Capricorn. January 8th, 2026 is not the only turning point. This moment right now is one too. Because whether the vault opens or stays sealed for another 864 years doesn't just depend on the stars. It depends on you. Life lesson from this part. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are the chooser now. Declare it below. What are you no longer willing to carry into this next chapter of your life? Transition to the conclusion. You've seen the pattern. You've heard the call. You've stood in the silence and remembered your worth. Now, in our final message, let's bring it all together and speak directly to the Capricorn soul. Because this isn't the end, it's your beginning. Conclusion. You were never meant to live in chains. Capricorn, you've carried enough. You've climbed silently, bled quietly, loved deeply without demand. And you were told that made you strong. But now you know the truth. You weren't sent here to suffer. You were sent here to lead, not through dominance, but through depth. Not through perfection, but through presence. Not through sacrifice, but through sovereignty. You've heard the system. You've seen the cracks. You've remembered the parts of yourself that were buried beneath obedience. And now the vault opens, not just in the stars, but in you. It opens the moment you say, "I'm done waiting. I'm ready to receive." It opens when you rest without guilt. When you say no without explanation. When you stop trying to be loved for what you do and start being loved for who you are. Capricorn, this is not just your season. This is your return. A return to power. A return to presence. A return to yourself. And as January 8th, 2026 approaches, stand tall. Face east. Speak the words. And receive what has always been already yours. Final invitation. If this message touched something in you, if a quiet voice inside whispered, "This is me," then you're ready. Subscribe to Zodiac Secrets Revealed. This is not just a channel. It's a sanctuary. And you are not alone.